So breaking just a short time ago on social media, President Trump signaled a major concession in his tariff policy toward China. This is what he wrote. 80% tariff on China seems right, up to Scott B. Scott B is the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. The current tariff is 145%, so he's floating a 65% reduction in tariffs to China even before U.S. negotiators sit down with Chinese officials, Scott Bessent among them, this weekend in Switzerland. With us now is former press secretary and then Vice President Joe Biden, Kendra Barkoff, and Republican strategist and former RNC communications director Doug Heye. So that was fast. I mean, before the negotiations even start, you drop your asking price 65%. What's going on here, Doug?
Well, I think part of it is a reaction to what we've been seeing as either fewer container ships have been coming in or ships with fewer containers, and that a lot of those containers that have come from ports in China to ports in the U.S. have less product in them. And so there's a very real concern of what people are going to pay, or are there going to be shelves that are empty? These are bad visuals for Donald Trump. I think he knows that. It may be too late to save the immediate problem, but clearly he realizes that there's an ongoing issue here that could hurt him politically pretty severely. I think it's smart to get ahead of this, but let's ultimately see where we end up. That's obviously much more important.
Obviously, 80% tariffs are still huge. They're still extraordinarily high, yet it's a lot lower than 145%. Kendra, is this the art of the deal?
Well, look, we've seen his tariff policies to be erratic time and time again. And what we're seeing is a potential coming towards a recession. Trump owns this economy, and what we're seeing with the up and downs is really going to start to affect workers. It's affecting prices. And, I think from what it seems like, he doesn't actually care about it. He was asked yesterday in the Oval Office whether or not, he cares about the workers in Seattle that, are concerned that there aren't things being unloaded onto the port, that they are concerned about their jobs. And he sort of brushed by the question. So he actually does own this economy. He is the president. The buck stops with him. And I just think these erratic tariff policies are a problem.
As long as we're
talking
about...
By the way, John, I'd say
Kendra's
very smart to point out the dock workers in Seattle. Tariffs are about American jobs, and ultimately it's dock workers in Seattle, it's truck drivers who are going to deliver that from Seattle or Long Beach to every community in the country. Those are American jobs, and that's part of Trump's concern.
President Trump speaking out ahead of the weekend talks that his Treasury Secretary will be leading in Geneva with Chinese trade officials, leading into what will be the first actual talks between the U.S. and China since Trump launched his global trade war. The president just posted on social media floating a 80% tariff on China, as he says, seems right, which would be a dramatic drop from the 145% tariff he currently has slapped on the country, though it would still be historically high. TBD what that means. We do not know. What we do know is the impact of the tariffs on Chinese goods coming in are hitting one industry particularly hard, the baby industry. That's because, according to some estimates, more than 70% of baby gear purchased in the U.S. is manufactured in China. Everything from car seats to changing tables to strollers. Said another way, essentials for new parents. Joining me right now is someone who knows this too well. Joe Shamy. He's the president of Delta Children, the country's largest crib and children's furniture brand. Joe, thank you very much for coming in. As we were talking leading into this, your company is so impressive. Family owned and run for multiple generations now. Before I get to kind of the questions of where things are headed, what do these tariffs on imports, the 145 that we're talking, that's currently on from China, what does it mean for your company right now?
It means that we have to figure out how to continue to make safe products that are affordable for parents. And 145% it would be almost impossible to do so. So we're trying to figure out other avenues, other ways of doing so, and we're waiting for direction from the president. We acknowledge the president has valid concerns about our trade imbalances. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that he's addressing it. I'm also glad that he's very devoted to families, to family values, to establishing a baby boom, all of the above. With that set in mind, we need to keep baby products affordable.
What does it mean for your inventory right now? Are shipments coming in? Are you bringing products in still?
So luckily, we are a very financially strong company, and we have a large inventory in stock currently. And we are bringing in certain products even at the higher tariff rates. So for the next few months, we're good. We're going to keep prices stable. We're going to do our best to do so, and we're hoping for more direction to move forward.
But just a few months of inventory is.
Not
I know
enough.
you're not. I know you're not. Yeah, that's not enough, and I know that's not how anyone wants to run. They have to run their company.
Yes.
I was reading that on what we just are learning, 80%, if that would be what the tariff rate is, like, what does the 145% tariff on your goods coming in, 80% tariff on your goods coming in, does that make a difference? Do you think?
Of course, it makes a difference,
Right.
but it still makes it very expensive for a new parent to raise a child. And we are very concerned that, for argument's sake, in the crib field, that parents will make the wrong choice. They will co-sleep with their children. They will buy a used crib, a crib that they have sitting in the basement for years that do not meet the current safety standards. In 2011, Delta and our other manufacturers worked together with the Consumer Product Safety Commission and developed the toughest standards for cribs in the world. We put a zero tolerance, and we're so proud of what we did, and we reduced deaths by some 90%.
And that's the fear.
And
is
that's
that
the fear. What happens next? And again, I praise President Trump for addressing the situation. I praise President Trump for, at this time, saying he's going to take a look at baby essentials.
But if parents can't afford it, the choices they would make, because you have to, you have a baby, you must have product for them. What that
Correct.
means, that's something I hadn't even thought about.
Now, it's something I want to say. A cell phone is a necessity, but we have old cell phones. A new parent doesn't have an old crib, a crib sitting and waiting for them to put into their home.
That is a very good point. The president has been, I would say, almost unusually focused on children's products and how he has been talking about tariffs of late. We know that he talked about how children don't need to have so many baby dolls or can pay a couple extra dollars for a doll. He also talked about strollers in some of his recent interviews. I want to play this for you, what he said this weekend.
Some prices are going up, tires, strollers, some clothing in the wake of your tariffs.
Excuse me, that's peanuts compared to energy. Energy is 60% of the cost. You should ask some positive things like, sir, it's amazing what you've done with gasoline. Because you know what? Gasoline's big business. A stroller is not big business.
I remember hearing that and thinking, what reaction someone like yourself would have to hearing that?
No pun intended, but we are an infant industry. We are a small industry compared to energy and all other kinds of industries. But we are one of the most important industries there is. We need to keep babies safe. We need to encourage parents to have more kids, and we need to do our best to help them.
An interesting thing that is particularly unique, as you're talking about safety of your products,
Yes.
that's particularly unique to the baby industry, is the testing that goes into these products before they make it to market. If one thing we hear over and over is make it in the United States, bring it in the United States, you won't face a tariff. Can you move all of that testing to the United States that is so essential for the safety of your products?
The testing facilities in China are extensive. We've developed 9 test labs in Asia. We also developed 2 test labs in the United States. So we can do some testing, but the infrastructure, wheels, steel, fabric for the seats, foam, it could go on and on. All the things that go into making a stroller are still right now in China.
You can't. I mean, it is impossible for you to move that over quickly.
At this time, quickly is the right term. Quickly, no. Maybe at some point in time in the future, we can. Let me point out something else to you. We have 3 manufacturing facilities in the United States. We manufacture in Wisconsin, we manufacture in Kansas. We produce hundreds of items there, just not strollers and cribs. Those were not economical for us to do here. We're going to expand our production in the United States. We're going to do as much as we can to do so. And we employ over 500 people in America. So we are a U.S. manufacturer. At the same time, we are an importer from China and other parts of Asia.
What I hear from you, Joe, is you just need some time and you need a break in order to stay afloat and keep safe products on the shelves.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you for coming in, Joe.
Appreciate
I
it.
really appreciate it. Nice.
Pleasure.
Thank you.